The Archie Gray news spilled over on Saturday, and let's be honest, there have been big updates since. I wasn't able to cover them yesterday because I was travelling on a train all day, and I barely had signal on Saturday anyway, so I wasn't able to keep all that updated. But let's discuss everything, because I feel like there's a lot to be talked about here, and now is actually my first time to be able to do so. So, let's give some Archie Gray move updates, shall we? A little bit on what's happening now, why it's happening, what it means for the club, and who we can blame. First up, my last update on this was that he was having a medical at Brentford following a £35 million bid. At this point, everyone thought that the move was effectively done. Every single person. Twitter was livid, YouTube was livid, all the Leedsy group chats that I'm in were very, very angry because we thought he was sold to Brentford already. However, since then, things have changed a bit. We rejected the Brentford bid reportedly because the payment terms weren't quite what we wanted to see, and Spurs entered the conversation. And that means that that's probably his likely destination at the moment, especially considering everything that is happening with the deal and PSR stuff. I will get into that later, but on the subject of PSR, the deadline has passed, sort of. I'll explain that in a moment. In addition to all of that, Fabrizio Romano is now involved, our favourite Italian. I'll have a very quick look at when the tweet was, just to make sure. The tapping merchant himself has gotten involved by saying some little things about Archie Gray and Tottenham Hotspur. He understands that Tottenham are advancing on the Archie Gray deal. Negotiations are progressing. Spurs are optimistic on personal terms after positive talks with the players' camp. The player is open to the move. And finally, Tottenham hope to reach total agreement and book the medical soon. Now, from my perspective, I know that I'm recording this in the past for you, but he not only tweeted this 32 minutes ago at the time of writing that particular note here, but it was 46 minutes ago now, but he reposted it minutes later, sort of indicating that he has a very, very strong belief in this one, or there's agents trying to push it through on either the Spurs side or the player side. Which says that, in my opinion, that's going to happen in the next couple of days, if not today. If I'm able to, I will be giving update on update on update on update on update, just to sort of keep people in the loop. I wasn't able to this weekend. I apologise, but I'll be able to sort that as soon as possible. The PSR impact on this is ultimately why we are making this move. Selling Archie Gray is something that will absolutely need to be done from a profit and sustainability perspective, because as I understand it, we needed a sale before the PSR deadline hit. Apparently, we were looking at one big outgoing before the end of June, because that was a sort of a must. But importantly, we need to keep in mind that we can complete moves after the deadline if, that's a big word, if they were happening prior to the closing of that deadline. If there was discussion and conversation around a club has expressed an interest and there might have been like a verbal agreement between the two sides, yeah, we can reach something here, then you can put that into last year's accounts, which is fine enough, I guess. And as long as it is a club in the conversation that completes it, PSR is fine. So with Spurs being that club that is in the conversation, it feels like Spurs are going to be the destination, unless on the down low, Liverpool or Chelsea have gotten involved in the chat as well. A big part of this move for a lot of people, including myself, is the emotional impact. Because we all watched last season and we saw this kid that we saw on the bench at the Emirates at the age of 15 finally come out of his shell and play incredibly well. And now we might be going after just one season as a full senior Leeds United player. That emotional impact hits very, very hard. Because over this season, we have all grown to love Archie. Because he is that player that comes out onto the pitch, and as the fans are singing, he is also singing Marching On Together. Because he does want to see us win. He's been through those ups and downs because he's been a fan for his entire life. And as someone that is... Shit, I'm 8 years older than Archie Gray. But as someone that has sort of followed Leeds through like having the ability to remember things, because at the age of like 6, can't remember that much. There's been a lot of downs as a Leeds fan and a lot of ups, and he's stuck with us throughout all of that. Archie loves Leeds United, and that's why it has such a huge impact on us when we're looking at it and thinking, shit, that's not really what we want to happen. In addition to that, there's further emotional impact because there's rumours of a rift between the Whites, Leeds United, and the Greys. For some reason, that sounds like something out of Game of Thrones. But it includes discussions of Archie didn't want to go, Eddie might have cut ties with the club. Harry Gray's also followed Brentford on Instagram, so maybe we lose him as well. All not fun stuff. And all stuff that will genuinely devastate if it's true. And I'm hoping it isn't, because club legends should stay club legends, in my opinion. Although I would like to make the note that in my previous video I said that maybe take the Gray family stuff with a pinch of salt, because I'd only see it from some smaller sources that I wasn't 100% on. Someone took that as take the entire video with a pinch of salt in the comments, which is listen to context, get some media literacy, listen to what the pinch of salt is about, and you will go far. But this has also gone beyond sort of conversation around Archie himself and the sale, and has led to a little bit of discussion on the ownership. Is the ownership bad for doing this? What's gone wrong? Have we fucked up somewhere along the line? What's the issue here? And this is a really complex discussion to have, because in my opinion, multiple things can be true at the same time. First up, the Red Bull deal can have brought in a huge amount of revenue. It can be the biggest commercial deal in EFL history, which we've been informed of. And stupidly, Parag said in an interview that it might be the difference between selling and retaining a player. But, so I'm going to get to point number 2, selling players for above their value is still a completely sensible and rational thing to do. Archie Gray, at the moment, has had 1 season of Championship football. He's 18 years old. And I think it was in a conversation with Connor from One Leeds, was in a chat with Nancy Froston, and they came to a bit of a conversation and said that Archie's value is probably 18 to 25 million pounds. Clubs wanting to buy him for 30 to 35 million quid, or 40 million quid, sorry, 35 to 40, means that is probably something that we should be looking at and thinking, actually, that's not a bad offer in the slightest. If you're selling someone for above their value from a business perspective, a completely rational, non-emotion-based perspective, it makes sense. Not just from a PSR perspective, but from a running a football club perspective, because think of the players that we can get in as a counter to that. In addition to that, good decisions with bad messaging are not necessarily bad decisions. The messaging is what I think people's issue with this is. The messaging of, yeah, we've got Red Bull, so we might not have to sell a key player. But you still will if a big enough bid that is so far above his actual value comes in. Because that just makes sense. That's the sane thing to do that puts you in the best position going forwards. And whilst it might not feel like it, it's rational and sensible. I think that from a purely distant perspective, someone looking out, someone looking in from outside, as I was in a group chat with some uni mates, and none of them are Leeds fans, and everyone was looking in like, that's some really good business from Leeds. Because from that detached perspective, selling for 35 to 40 million pounds is absolutely the right move, but I think the 49ers have done so the wrong way. The messaging hasn't been great. There hasn't been any idea that we needed to get a sale done at any point. And the Red Bull chat about this might mean we can retain some players, everyone assumed that meant Archie. But that's not the case. And everyone being really, really mad means that everyone's looking for someone to blame, and there's a few different candidates that we can look at. Is it the owners? Because in theory, it's the owners accepting this bid, but at the same time, the owners now, they were only properly in control since last summer. So at that point, do you look at who was in charge before that summer? Who got us into the financial mess in the first place with all the losses? Who got us relegated from the Premier League? Do you look at Victor Orta, who paid huge fees for players that were not good enough? That's a really good question. Or do you look a little bit deeper? Do you look at football's general financial regulations? Because PSR seems to be this weird, bizarre joke of a system in which the big money clubs, the ones that PSR came in to stop because it was trying to keep a flat financial playing field and mean that like state-owned clubs can't get that huge advantage, doesn't work, does it? No, because they'll find crappy ways of getting sponsorships from their own owners, which can artificially boost their revenue, which means they can just keep spending as they were before. And everyone comes out of it more and more pissed off. Except the clubs at the top, obviously, because they have no challenges anymore. That's the bit that's annoyed me the most out of this. The fact that we've been forced to sell an academy product, someone that loves the club, someone that we love, purely so we can have this fake, stupid pretense that we've got rules in place to stop the rich clubs flexing that financial muscle. Doesn't work. It's all bullshit. And my opinion on the move is that this is the definition of side before self. It's a case of, yes, this is fantastic for the club, but we're going to have to lose an individual. 35 to 40 million pounds transforms the club. It means that we avoid a points deduction. It's money for a good rebuild into this summer because, shit, we need it. Centre-back, we need depth. Right-back, we need depth. If we sell Crescencio Somerville, we need another winger. We might need a 9. We definitely need a 10. Central midfield is already looking weak, and if we sell Archie, we'll need another one there as well. We also avoid potential points deductions. But sadly, it means we have to lose something we love. The side benefits, the self loses out. I don't like it. Genuinely, I deeply hate this move, but I understand it. I understand it's a corner that football clubs now are backed into, where their best talents have to be sold to say this weird rule that nobody actually likes and doesn't do anything. Incredibly stupid. Not a fan. But I understand why we have to do it. We have to do it to keep the club with some potential of going up, because we get a 10-point deduction. That's not promotion. Occasionally, you've got to make those sacrifices, and I hate that you do, and I hate that there's rules in place that mean you do. And sadly, it's Archie, but here we are. If a bid would have come in earlier for Somerville, it would have been him. But either way, let me know what you think in the comments down below. I'm sure everyone has a lot of opinions on this one, and I kind of want to see all of them if I can. That'd be massively appreciated. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please like if you did. I'm trying to get to 4,000 subscribers by the start of next season, so if you're not subscribed already, that'd be massively appreciated. Could even become a channel member. It's only 99p, and all of that money goes to Prostate Cancer UK. At the moment, I know YouTube takes a 50% cut, but I'm personally topping that up myself to get it to that 99p going to Prostate Cancer UK, because it just feels right. And yeah, either way, hope you enjoyed. I will see you later. I'm not going to do like an outro thing this time. I'm genuinely a little bit too annoyed to do that. In a bit.